Hello and welcome to another video on the MGLA channel. Today, I'm very excited about this video. We are here with Wub, of course, our regional champion from Louisville, which I was very excited for. And even if I couldn't win it in my original hometown, I'm very glad that a teammate of all people, Wub as well, who has been one of the most well-performing players of the last 2 years. I mean, I think it's 5 out of 6 regionals you've top cut, so you've missed like one regional. Yeah. You're at Worlds, just all kinds of accolades, and I'm so happy to finally see that we also have a win on there as well, because I know it's been a long time coming. But with all of that said, how are you today?
No, I'm doing good. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, of course. With all that said, I think what's been interesting to me is the fact that I've been kind of doing this thing, because this video is a little bit out from the Louisville Regional. It's unfortunately a little bit on me. Got kind of busy after the Louisville Regional, but I've been doing a lot of thinking about kind of your journey coming into the game, because I know a lot of people came in during, MHA when it first released. I know that's when I came in. A lot of the MGLA came in during that time, and you came in like slightly after. So I kind of wanted to talk about that, because it was about 6 months of playing the game, I think, before you started like just eventually dominating for 2 years straight. So my very first question for you is going to be, how did you get started with UVS?
Yeah. So for context, I played Yu-Gi-Oh as a kid. Did okay. There were I was close to making top cut of nationals one year, and I think I just generally didn't practice enough or attend enough events to really do particularly well. And then through my early 20s, I just didn't really play. And then I got back into the game for a couple years and was not finding great results, was not really enjoying the game. And friends mentioned the My Hero card game to me at the time. That's what it was marketed as. They have a tendency to do that. And it just kind of stuck. I think the community was really great locally, and that helped a lot. And then also friends who were very interested in going and attending events and stuff. So that's kind of what got me into it.
Gotcha. So, what in that case, what was kind of your first year playing like? Because I know we didn't get to see your name as much in top cuts. Obviously, much less than we did your second year of playing. But what kind of decks were you playing, and what kind of what did your testing and almost improvement environment look like, if that's makes sense?
Yeah. So I've been thinking about this a bit lately, and I think the biggest difference was just I didn't have someone to rein me in when I walked off that ledge with a crazy idea. So I would just go with it, and I would play something just insane.
Gotcha.
For Gen Con 23, I was playing Focused Attack All Mids Rappa and siding into Night Eye. Because I came up with it, and I saw the synergy and thought it was cool, and no one said no, don't do that.
Yeah.
So the first 3 regionals were all kind of that way for me. And then I slowly started to become more competitive. I mean, I still did Void Suzuki for the Wish tournament, which is pretty, far out of left field. But
for sure.
Yeah, it was really only Vegas where I finally had an idea that was not crazy enough that it didn't work, and then it went very, very well. And then finally I started talking to people who were like, no, don't do that. Let's rein you in a little bit. Don't. But yeah. I think that's pretty much what. Yeah.
Gotcha. So first year we're just kind of playing some of the crazy stuff, and I do have to say, because I feel like you have a very niche reputation in the community of finding these really cool synergies, finding these amazing decks that it's I know if I read a Wub list, it's 9 times out of 10 I'm gonna be like, yeah, I would have never thought of that. That's pretty cool, I guess. Wish I could come up with that. So it sounds like having that rein in is good. And that brings us right into your first big success in the game, just getting second in Las Vegas. So I have 2 main questions here, and they both surround Mimic, because as many people probably from the channel know, I love Mimic as a character, and the fact that I also got my very big first success as Mimic means that I thought it was really cool that I saw it again at Las Vegas, even though I felt a little bit bad that I didn't try to keep with Mimic, but there's some reasons to that related to my second year playing, your first year playing. But back to the questions. Why did you end up choosing Mimic? And was there any specific spot in that meta you were trying to fill? Because I remember that meta. I remember it being very aggressive, because we were mainly fighting Elder Toguro. So what were we trying to fill there?
Yeah, everyone was convinced that younger Toguro, his old errata was not, or before errata, he was not commit a foundation to get damage. Everyone was convinced that he was the best deck. And I had been playing Mimic actually for a little bit. I played him at the LCQ for the HLC, missed by I think, one win or so. I would have been right on the bubble if I'd won one more. And then I also played him for the Rochester RLE the year before. So I was familiar with the character, and I ended up. I know you're going to ask about prep and stuff. This was something where I wasn't convinced with Mimic either. I thought that, like, with things like Electric Jolt and Ice Storm rotating, that he kind of lost a lot of tools that I valued very highly. But I had played, I think it was Phil Birch's Evil List or something with some UU cards in it, and ran it at some local champs or sorry, whatever they were called at the time, pre-local champs. The ones before events and the local champs are after.
Yeah, the provisionals.
And I'd won a couple of them. Yeah. And I was like, okay, maybe there's something here, but I wanted to go the chaos symbol and felt like Twisting Azure was really strong, obviously. Card is now banned. And I think it was like 5 days before the regional, I'd been caught up in other stuff, job hunting and everything, and just decided to send what if I just send all low attacks? And the reason I thought that was because at the time, all of Younger Togero's attacks were cards that drew a card and were slow high attacks. So everyone was very heavy on high blocks and thinking about the high zone. And I said, I'm just going to run all lows and then Twisting Azures. And it paid off in spades. Like, no one was able to block almost any of my moves. And then when they could, it was a Twisting Azure. And it's like, well, that one's not, the point isn't really for you to block that one anyway. And then Trigger Transformation was the other, I believe, mid attack in the deck. And that one is just kind of more for building trigger than actually killing them, though it can kill them. So.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. And, as much as I feel like it's annoying when these like all low strategies work, if there's any character that I love a true all low strategy in, it's going to be Mimic, because we get to have some of his best synergies on lows. We get Shocking Entrance. We get, Walk the Dog was a brand new card at the time. We get Cheerful Uppercut. And then a card that I never played in Mimic, because I just haven't played him that much since UU and since some of the new MHA cards. But Blue Flame Torment, which is like also like clearly a good Mimic card, add plus to my check, sign me up. Right. So I think that makes sense. And I guess that kind of answers the question of like filling the spot being low attacks, which like, I think that's a brilliant way to like look at the meta. And, I'm also glad that it was one of the times that like someone came through on a last second build. But I know, sorry, go ahead.
No, it's fine. I think also like, the fact that I had this sort of, it's not necessarily a gimmick. I mean, it can kind of like zone overload on the low can kind of be seen as a gimmick, but the fact that I had that to fall back on and it worked very well meant that like it was very hard for me to mess up when I was nervous, because I got very nervous as I progressed further into that event. And until you've top cut that first time, there are a lot of things that might end up being mistakes just because you're not used to making it that far into an event. And I sort of had those, I want to say like safety guards in place where it's like, okay, well, I can't mess up by throwing 3 lows and then a high into their high zone thing. It's just very consistent at doing this. Coupled with the fact that Not Slash could just come out, and that was like a huge boost to his like offensive power at that point too.
Yeah, exactly. I think having that consistent game plan that you can always rely on is great. I like to think back to my first outing with Mimic at Gen Con, and the fact that 9 times out of 10 I was going however many twistings I had in hand into however many double chaps I had in hand, and it didn't matter if you could block them because it's minus to your check, and I'm trying to do it on as early a turn as possible, was definitely a very relaxing way to play the last few rounds of the game, where I didn't have to stress about some of the intricacies. But moving on from Las Vegas, we performed very well at Las Vegas. And then for the rest of the year, we kind of played this Rodan list. And I really love this Rodan list compared to other Rodan lists, because it's not on Void, and I hate how they're all on Void. So my very first question about this Rodan list is, why are we playing all? Because if anyone hasn't seen the list, we played Rodan on all, and we played this very interesting focused attack, big fist bash, double jumbo fist list that was all focused on mids, which is great for Rodan. You're giving them speed. Who cares if it's a mid, right? And also just like actually put damage on things. We also, anyone who loves weird lists should just go, or not weird lists, but like loves unique lists should go look at it, because we also played Spirit Gun Mega, which is like one of my favorite cards I've never played in a list. But back to the main question, why did we choose the all symbol? Was it just trying to be different? Was it the playstyle, or did you genuinely prefer?
So I knew Rodan was a pretty strong character. I think before release, we didn't quite appreciate just how dominant he would eventually become. Mm-hmm. But I really didn't. I wanted a deck that had some kind of offensive synergy, something that felt like cards were like working together in some way. And the void lists were just kind of going for value and just sort of playing good ones. And I've never really been a fan of like I don't want to say mid-range, but like the good stuff archetypes in card games that just sort of say all these cards are good, I'm just going to play good ones over and over. So I didn't really want to do that. And I'd felt trapped for a while on all because I was really looking for something and I kept trying kicks and couldn't get there. And just none of the packages seemed to work. And at a certain point I was like, the other context of the time is the cultural zeitgeist, I want to say, was that the mid zone would be illegal for this event because everyone expected combined firepower and barrier shield to just cut you off at any point. They didn't actually need the mid block in their hand. They just needed a barrier shield and they could activate combined and block. And that was the first time we'd ever dealt with that. And we thought that mids would just never connect. And I just sort of said, all right, let's see how true that is. I love focused attack. I feel like it provides the damage where Rodan provides the speed. So it's very easy to sort of couple those together, get a lot of stats, and just kind of send it. So I wasn't super focused on defense. I had a couple defensive tricks. I like that character with resting up and stuff like that. But overall, I was just sending like, what's it called? Supersonic Flight pumped Spirit Gun Megas on 2 into focused attack lines on 3, and just kind of going for it. And it worked very, very well. So,
I think one of my favorite archetypes in this game is when you take a defensive character and you're like, what if I just kill them instead? Like, what if they just die?
Yeah.
And it's like, you're probably going to be hard to kill anyways because you're a defensive character. One of the lists that I wish I tried out a lot more was the list right before we got rotation of a Racerhead doing Twister, Azure, Inferno stuff on death.
Because I think it's
yeah, exactly. I just think it's cool to like try and kill them, and then we didn't. Cool, I'll try and defend the best I can, like living on that razor's edge of defense and offense, right? So I'm kind of curious, because this is a stark contrast to the very next year. Which is going to be this year. Your decks last year, we played Mimic once, and then we played Rodan for the next 2 events. And obviously that's because we only had 3 events, and we have a lot more events this year. But I'm really curious, was it intentional that you wanted to very much iterate on this list? Was it just that Rodan was the only thing that felt good at the time, or?
Yeah, it's closer to the latter. I think in part was like the transition to the Attack on Titan symbol spread and attuned and 2 symbol characters was very jarring. I really like a lot of options in deck building, and playing 2 symbol characters felt very limiting, even though like the text on them was strong, and I didn't really want to go with it. And I knew that vertical maneuvering equipment was like incredibly powerful, and I felt like it just made Rodan even better at not dying. So it seemed like that deck had only improved, and I was still having fun with it. So it was kind of a combination of things that sort of kept me sticking with that deck. And then I would say with the release of like Bertolt 2 and stuff was where I kind of just dropped it. It felt like I couldn't really keep up the pressure anymore. Decks had kind of hit a power level where I didn't feel comfortable bringing it to a tournament. People did, and they did well at Nats, and maybe I could have, but it felt like enough had changed and things had become strong enough that the deck wasn't quite what I wanted it to be.
Yeah, I will say going into Nats, I remember you and I specifically talking a little bit in DMs about the Rodan list, because I really wanted to find an all Rodan list that worked, because Fatal Decision's such a cool card, I think, and I really just wanted to break my opponent to death. And I think both you and I both came to the same conclusion. I think I less came to the conclusion that Rodan couldn't make it in this meta as well as he could in other metas, as much as I played the Krista deck once and had fun and was like, this deck is exactly. Which brings me to the very next question, which is going to be the Krista deck. I think it's very fun for the team that it ended up being a story where quite a few of us took variations on the deck and all mostly did well at Nats. But my main curiosity is, how did that deck kind of start? Because I can tell you right now, I wasn't the one who started it, right? I think it was a combination of you and Travis. Feel free to correct me on that story, but how did that deck start?
Yeah, it was definitely originally Travis. So Krista was like, at the time, at least, we were sharing a lot of deck lists and just kind of going back and forth. And I think I saw that one and I was like, wait, this is really cool. And I sort of pushed him in the direction where I'm like, keep going with this. Like, you're cooking. Mm-hmm. And after Nats, I was the one who was like, why don't we just try Order? And that also worked out fantastically for him. So, I think that deck is like custom to Travis's playstyle. I really enjoy it, but I think as a player, I hadn't quite hit the point of like making the optimal decisions over a 9-round tournament with it. I think there are a lot of things that are like very difficult with it. And going into Worlds, I knew that and felt like I needed something that played a little bit, I don't know what the right word is, just not quite as
branching.
like the decision trees are huge in that
Yeah,
deck.
exactly.
And they're just things that like the first, one of my losses to a Paul Phoenix, and like looking back, I'm like, I should have put a focused attack on top of his deck and enticed him to draw it. Like I should have done that. And that would have changed like a whole bunch of things. And like he would have played that focused attack there and I could answer that and that would have stopped his turn. And instead he played a 4-diff and I lost because of it. And, all these things that like had I maybe stuck with it for a month or so before I would have caught it. But, with like the couple weeks since we found the deck and testing, I just don't think I was quite ready for it. And knowing that going to Worlds, I was like, I don't think I can do this.
Gotcha. Well, it is going to lead great into those questions for Worlds. But to add a little bit more context for the viewer on the Crystal list, as someone else who also played it at that event, that is so true. Like it's every little decision can matter, and when every little decision matters, I think for me personally, as someone who has the most embarrassing misplay with that deck on a stream ever, it's very easy to just like think you have a complex line and really it was the one of the orange ones, so
Yeah.
I think it's very sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I definitely had, I think I have you out embarrassed. It was not on stream, but I had my opponent play a Colossal Detonation, and I thought I could stack D-Sphere and draw it with Krista, and then realized I failed if I checked a 3 and I checked a 3, and I died to a board wipe with with a Genkai's in my hand that I chose not to use because I was like, I'll just D-Sphere block this.
Yeah.
So
which like D-Sphere block is better, but only if we pass it, which that is.
Yeah, I hadn't accounted for some silly speed thing, like maybe it was basic trading deadlock or something like that.
Yeah, there are definitely way too many decision points with that deck. Which brings us to the Hanj deck, which I also played for the LCQ. So I will say it makes this video so much easier for at least 2 events where I just kept playing the same deck you did, because I was like, I don't know, this deck's cool. I think it's fine, and I really did not want to make my own deck for Worlds. But that Hanj list. That I believe I played it for LCQ, and then Mitchell also played a variation of it, or maybe the same one, and then you also played it. That list was very cool, and I think it had less decision points than Krista, but it still had a lot of decision points that one could play. So why did we pick up Han?
So I think initially we were trying to spike people with plow through enemies. Like that was we thought that like combined firepower plow through enemies is like a good way of killing people really early outright. And then I sort of my issues with the deck originally were like Battle Aura is a bit slow, Falling Heel's a bit slow, Punch doesn't give speed. It's pretty easy to interact with those Showdown and like put you really far behind or something like that. You'll notice I tend to play around Showdown a lot because my friend Ryan Levine plays Hawks. I play test into him a ton. That card is on the screen all the time. I'm just used to getting hit with that card constantly.
Yeah.
So when I realized that I can probably run a mix of the 4 checks and 3 checks, and then I thought about the math after. I'm like, whoa, this lines up very, very well if you check 5s. It gives you 2 committed on each of these for Hanj to blow up 1, and continue to use her ability without losing ready foundations. Because like one of the big problems of that character is early, if you're trying to destroy ready with her, if you're debuilding ready foundations, you're losing out on your ability to like play a kill string. So that combination, and then realizing that the attacks were picking each other up, was like, whoa, there might be something here. And the other part of that is like Female and Duplicitous are very good about so Female's fast enough, right, and Duplicitous being a low zone at playing around those like high block tricks and stuff. Just like that combination of things, and then realizing the kill power of it too. Like when Mitch started, that was really when I watched Mitch play, I'm like, oh, your offense is just like Ochako 4. I know he loved that deck, and it's like, play a high move, it's fast, it has +3 damage. Play a high move, it's fast, it has +3 damage. I don't know, Lunar Ring kill you type stuff.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, we're just trying to we can sit there and play a slower game. We can certainly survive for much longer than any 7-hander has the right to survive in today's meta. But the fact that we can also just play attacks is like those kind of decks that can turn on the heat, but also back off the heat. Like they just have the dial on the tempo of the match are the ones that I always find really interesting, and that's why I really like that Hanj deck that you guys ended up iterating and playing on.
That tournament ended up being pretty scary because I think we disrespected Pony a bit, especially just while that deck still had the extra any means necessary for draw and everything was terrifying. And my games against it were very, very close. But no, it went really well, and then just lost to a 1 build in top 16, I want to say, or whatever. And
yeah, which is just the unfortunate run of the bill. But that said, we did get to Worlds. We did top 32 Worlds, which is like at least you got through day 1, right? And also just getting to Worlds is
it was top 32. It wasn't top 16.
Yeah. It was. I only know because I had the deck list pulled up. So but we can say it's top 16. I don't mind either way. But moving on from Worlds, we then have. I feel like the big staple of our very first event. Is the big bad of the format for that one event, which was, that and the next event, I guess, which was the Nick Reagan character card, this new champ character card that I feel like read very broken and busted. And then I was like, I don't know, it's probably fine. Like, it's probably good. Like 2/2's a lot, abilities are a lot. And then I played into your version of the list on all. And was immediately like, I don't want to play this format at all, which is ironic, getting second at that event. But immediately I was off the format entirely. So I want to ask, what was it like to put that monstrosity together? How many iterations did it take? Or was it something that just worked because it had so many cards that we could just run all the good ones?
Yeah, so I was so excited for this character that I was like building it at Worlds. Like I had it like sleeved and everything. I just really enjoy the all symbol and like drawing cards. And I didn't I knew it was strong. People were telling me it was inconsistent. I felt like it was not going to be, but I just wanted to move the cards around. And then like I played a couple games and I was like, oh, this is kind of disgusting. And it quickly became, I brought it to Denver because I felt like people didn't quite understand just how dominant this deck could be. And then after the event, I was just kind of like, this is not like fun for my opponent. Like no one's really enjoying this. Like I'm having fun, but like I'm sitting here resolving all these effects. My opponent is just watching the stats pile up and die. And I don't really love what that does for the game. So that was the point that I'd say I kind of turned on the deck a bit. Like I like what it does, but it does it too well. You know, that's kind of my evaluation of it.
I will say that was my biggest problem playing into it. I was, not happy that my teammates didn't, got knocked out in top 8. I was, however, happy I did not have to play into that version of the deck. Because as we saw on stream, I can tell you right now, if it was you or Travis, I have 0 chances in that list. I think the fact that you all have, in my opinion, a very consistent turn 2, and if it's not a consistent turn 2, it's a consistent turn 3. My Mitchell deck could not do anything into that list. I played it plenty of times. I lost to Travis and Swiss in like 2 rounds. So that was definitely very scary. But I do understand the idea. Like it didn't allow your opponent to play the game, and I think that was my biggest problem. I think it's kind of unfortunate that something that let you press so many buttons and was fun to play ended up being less fun for the opponent. Sorry, go ahead.
No, it's just kind of like an unfortunate interaction of how all this stuff works. Like, I know we want the character to do these things, and like Nick enjoyed these things about like the game, so he wanted Ava and Technical Sphere together, right? But it just ultimately was like, how many of these Nick enhances can we get in a turn? Like that's just sort of where we went, because eventually we'll see the True 100, and then our deck size is less relevant, because as long as we're hitting one of these flow, Dark Interruptions or something, we can just keep going, and
exactly
that was really gross. And then like we weren't even really indexing for the air deck, like. I knew it existed. I didn't like the, I just sort of at 8 to 12 2 checks, I just stopped like treating it seriously, which obviously was a mistake going to the next event. But as you could see, there were like multiple very, very unfair ways to play that character. And like, rightfully he's errated. He's still crazy, but like he can't quite break through the defense right now. Yeah. Unless if you're not playing that much defense, you can still die to this character very early, like after the erratas. It's very easy to play like a 5 diff in a 70 card Nick Regan, hit a true 100, play another 5 diff, hit another true 100.
Yeah, exactly.
Just kill him on 2 or 3 again.
He's definitely allowed to run a much slimmer deck because you're less incentivized to hit the button every time. And I think if someone decided they still wanted to play the all version, it probably would be crazy, I feel like. But
it was on my radar for Louisville, honestly. Mm-hmm. Like there were a couple days where I thought I might bring it, and then I just decided, like, with the amount of defense that I was playing into, I didn't feel like I could comfortably get there.
Yeah.
Moment of normalcy, too, being infinity. It's just tough.
Yeah. I will say that reset came a little bit late. I'm not interested in seeing this world because I still don't want to see Nick Regan unerrated because I never, quite found the joy that other people did playing him. But I am curious, if Moment of Normalcy could have been enough that he didn't need the errata. I feel like that's probably not true just because 2-2. But, that is a curiosity there for sure. But yeah. That was definitely, our first outing for this year. And the fact that we immediately had to come off the deck, very unfortunate. But that does lead us into Albuquerque. But we can just ignore Albuquerque for now. I think you played a very interesting. Yeah. I think you played a very interesting Elder list. So the main question I have there is we didn't want to play Nick Regan anymore, of course, and we had the air list somewhat on our radar. But what ended up kind of influencing our decision to try this Elder list? Was there anything, any type of thing you were trying to accomplish there, other than
so to be fair, I'll say I knew the air list existed. I did not expect Let's Talk to pull up with 8 or 10 of them or something. I did not expect what happened. I did not expect to sit down across from one in the tournament. The Elder deck was just kind of like, I'm sort of frustrated with Nick Regan. I need something, the character, not the player. Love the player.
Oh, absolutely.
I needed cards that answer it, and that sort of led me to Elder. I had been trying to do like party backups, combo stuff, the scape shift stuff. And then I tried to do like Chris transformation, reset, flip it, 11 high, 11 type things, and just sort of settled on evil, just playing good. That tournament, I was not convinced that I would do very well. Like, I thought I would just get pancaked, and then I ended up 5-0, and I was like, whoa. And then the last 3 rounds just totally turned on me. But that was also a foray into, like, a much more defensive character, I'll say, in deck than what I typically have played in the past. I've usually been pretty aggressive, and that deck didn't have the most concrete kill plan. It was kind of like, at some point, I'll get 2 or 3 turn hundreds and play and get you, but before then, I don't know. Like, I'm just playing a Chrono Trigger for my discard and freezing, and
and just trying to not lose, which like is a valid strategy a lot of times. We know it worked for Albuquerque as we saw the finals match. Not losing is apparently a good strategy when you don't have timed rounds. But we finally get to talk about, the most, some 30 minutes into the video, the most, pinnacle, interesting event of the year so far for the MGLA. For the MGLA. I was making sure no one else had won an event this year. Make sure I didn't, I know we have 2 members who got second, but yeah. To the point, how much have we played with backups before Zeke? Were we trying to, and this is a 2-parter, but were we trying to play Zeke or were we trying to play backups? What was the influence here?
It was Zeke, definitely. Like, a big, I understand why AOT3 wasn't legal for Albuquerque. I totally get it. And I think that was probably the right decision. But man, did it feel bad to show up there with AOT3 decks in hand and want to play with the cards and not be able to. So, like, the entire time, I was just itching to get off Elder and play with Zeke Yeager. And, like,
gotcha.
I had built this deck with Zeke Yeager Warchief specifically. Yep. I'd been playing it. I was playing it in the lobby. I played it in the teams event. I jammed a game. I played 1 game of the one of the standard side events and then just dropped from it because teams was firing. Like, I played as much as I could once I was out of contention. So I really enjoyed that character. I still do. I just felt like he takes the downside of backups and sort of mitigates it in a way. I know Hanj does as well, but Zeke is like very funny for playing like a very big move easily with his once per turn, and I really enjoyed that. And then I also came to really love the ability to just draw so many cards. And then also, Falling Titans is just kind of custom for him because he just plays it on 4s for free. That's just what he does.
Well, yeah, so it is Zeke Yeager. He is making the Titans fall. It's classic. Yeah. Great synergy or great flavor there. I will say, watching the finals match, because I don't know, I've always been sour on backups personally. Going back to when they first got introduced, because I like assets, and I was like, I'd rather just play assets. Why do we have stamina on these now? Why do you just have health? And I do see their value a little bit more, maybe not from a design perspective, because I'm not a designer, but I do see their value in deck building. And I will say, I think watching your finals match is the single best advertisement to go play Zeke Yeager, because the amount of cards that you all drew, in the mirror match, but also your deck specifically, like, I one of the biggest things I noticed is Caden was like tending to use his Jaegerist followers to like look at the top. I don't think you ever did once you flipped over. Like, I think every time you flipped over, you drew with the Jaegerist follower instead of ever like looking at the top. And I was like, that's so cool. We get to have so many cards in our hand. We get to play them too. Yeah. Like, that was so neat. So I think
it depends on the matchup.
Yeah.
So there are times where I would definitely be scouting to make sure that I can actually check all the Falling Titans. But I would say Zeke is like a great backup character for people who don't really want to play with the downsides of backups, particularly because he helps on both sides. Like, and by that I mean the two downsides I would say of backups are like that they can be attacked. So you can build a couple, they just get killed, and you feel like you didn't accomplish anything besides like sponge some damage. And the other downside is that they don't help you pass checks. And Zeke helps you with the checks part, and then also he makes it super bad for them to be attacked. Like, he doesn't really care if they're in his stage or discard for his flip. And then also, if you attack them, he can first drop the attack, which feels very bad for most attacks in this game. To just have them dropped instantly.
Yep. It was very early in testing before Louisville that I learned you are not allowed to attack those backups if you're playing into Zeke. I think I did it once I was testing into you specifically, and I did it once, and I was like, wait a second, I needed that attack. What are we doing? And then I tested.
Press that button.
Yeah, exactly. And then I tested into Barlow, also playing a Zeke deck, and then that experience was just, oh yeah, 9 Titans is a broken card. And it was like, okay, wait a second here.
Sure is.
The fact that we got to very easily mitigate, the downsides, and then also, I don't know, the fact that he's just allowed to like play a big attack. Oh, oops, I have to commit a few, but this next big attack is like free, is very good. And then we also learned that Rock Titan's Barrage is maybe one of the most broken cards ever. Commit 3 and build your favorite backup is a little bit crazy, I think.
Yeah. It went real fast from being like not a great card to fantastic because of Jaeger's followers and 9 Titans.
Exactly. Like, so it was just so easy to get to the values you needed because we have a 1 diff backup that's like worth having in our stage. So how confident were you going into Louisville? Because we've talked a little bit about confidence at all these different events and some of the nervousnesses that can be involved in top cutting. Like it is a hard thing to do, right? How confident were we that we top cut? How confident were we that we would just demolish everyone and win in beast form, if you will?
Yeah, honestly, not at all. Like, going into the event, I thought my deck was decent. I didn't think it was the best one in the room. I was definitely worried that I was going to be killed by like Porcos or Peaks or just Animus shots in general. I thought Animus shots were just going to kind of like ruin my tournament. And then I saw round 1 was against Travis, and I was just like, oh, you got to be kidding me. Like, really? And then for whatever reason, I'm never that confident going to events, and then I just end up winning the first like 3 or 4, and I'm like, maybe I didn't make a bad deck this time. Just like every time over and over. But I just sort of slowly realized that like, okay, no, I actually made a very good call for this specific meta. People, I think, didn't really index enough for like the backup decks were not on Harness. Like, I think Harness on Death in the mirror is just like, it's a touch of death card. Like
I think just Burn 26 is pretty good.
Yeah. So it was like a combination of those things. And then like as I got into top cuts, my first round of top cuts was terrifying against the Mikasa player, Tanner. And then from there, it just kind of went very smoothly. Like, my deck was very good at blocking lows into Godzilla. Top four was probably the other sketchier round because that was like a sort of unknown new deck, that like Zeke 1 deck. Like, I hadn't tested against it. I wasn't really aware of what it was capable of. All I'd heard was Mitch had just played into it and he's like, here's what he's doing. I'm like, okay, that sounds terrifying. We'll see how it plays out. And, it did. I think also like being higher seed, right? I got to go first. So that also helped. Yeah, and then exactly. The finals, I had actually played Caden earlier in Swiss, and I sort of knew exactly what was going on, and I was like, okay, this is my comfort zone. Like, I'm content with whatever the outcome is here. I could draw poorly and he draws well, or whatever happens, but like, I know what attacks are coming, what zones, like, I am prepared for this. So it was like a combination of all those things being at the right place in the right time and having a pretty good choice for the room. I don't know if it was definitively the best deck, but it worked very, very well for that event for sure.
Sure. Yeah, I love it. I will say, watching finals, because I made sure to watch some of the matches that I didn't get to watch because I was off doing my own thing during the regional itself. I was finding it really hard to watch the stream, which is like my most disappointing part. But I think it'd be a little bit easier if they like put up a big screen with it on. But I know that's probably hard for them to do. That's not the easiest thing. But back to the point at hand, going back and watching the match, I will say that finals match specifically seemed like you were just like in the zone, like you said, your comfort zone, and it almost seemed like a masterclass in how to play Universus. Like, if anyone's trying to like figure out where the decision points are, how to play the competitive game, how to almost mind read your opponent and know exactly what's going on and be confident in your decisions, I feel like watching that finals was perfect. It's like I remember game 1, you were at like full health the entire time. Like, it was never super threatening. I feel like Caden couldn't like get going on his offense much. But game 2, you like ran down to the wire and you literally went to 1, right? But I'm sitting here watching this and I'm like, as I'm watching, the match unfold, it never once felt like you were in a position that you were going to die. It never like, sure, maybe he could have had like one extra attack or this or that, but like, it felt like, like you were doing the math like in the Matrix almost, like for lack of a better way of phrasing it. And I think that's very interesting. And I'm curious, you already mentioned you're in the comfort zone, but like, did it almost feel like, because people talk about with sports and gaming and stuff like that, like being in the zone and like the flow or whatever, or the flow zone, like is that what it kind of felt like, or was it just mass calculations inside the mind?
So I think it was during an interview with Barrett or something during the event where he said he noticed that I had like adapted and changed how I was attacking backups, and while that wasn't like exactly, there were some context things that changed how I was playing into the deck, but from his perspective, like, I had actually changed how I was playing and learned on the fly how to fight this brand new deck I'd never played against it. And to be fair, he was basically right about that. Like, I was in a zone where I just like, I was able to make these decisions, and looking back, I'm like, I don't know how the hell I did that. Like, I really don't. Like, thinking about like what was in my head at that point, it's like I knew exactly what attacks were coming next, and like was thinking like a couple checks ahead and what the speed was going to be on them based on what buttons he pressed. And I had determined the only way I was losing that turn is if he had like picked up into another rock barrage, and then he didn't do that. And I'm like, okay, well, no matter what, I can live here. And I looked, and I'm like, oh, I actually can just live at 1. I'll gain the 1. And take this double falling or whatever. And I knew I should be able to kill him from the next turn because he was just like extremely tapped out at that point. He'd used almost all his backups and everything.
Yeah, exactly. So, and then
the harness and death was just guessing. Like, I was like, I think this does like a ton of damage. I don't even know if he has low blocks or not. Like, I just have to send this, and then it ended up putting him to 1. I'm like, oh, I guess I could have maybe killed him with it. Like,
yeah,
crap.
Exactly. I think Barrett even called out that we just had to like sack one more pack up, and it's like, yeah, but like we also didn't know he had the low, but like it also felt like you were in such control that first game that like it was a very like low risk play. Like, we could just echo this thing twice and be like, you got the low, you got the answer. No, take a lot, I think. But yeah, I guess the very final, or as we're coming to the end here, the main thing I want to know about Louisville is what does it feel like to be the regional champion? Is it like the huge weight off your shoulder of like, I've accomplished this thing, or are we already thinking about the next event, already thinking about Canada or Atlanta or Worlds even, and trying to figure out how to have the next best thing?
Well, I definitely will say that I don't want to be done. Like, I did not want to be someone who won one event and was like, I'm content with that. Like, I really enjoy the competitive fire and like continuing to play, whether that is this game or anything else. Like, I really love thinking about these games and working on them, and it's great to see the payoff and it feels amazing. But for me, it's like it's kind of food to keep going. It's like you've hit this milestone. You know, this is awesome. Now the next time you're there, like, you know what it's like to get that win, which obviously feels incredible. But overall, you know, like, for me, it is motivation. It's, you know, it's all that work paying off in a sense. Even if this event I didn't prep as much for as, like, say, Nats and Worlds, it's like it's that culmination of all of that over the year and a half that I would say.
Gotcha. So we're definitely looking forward, even if it is, you know, a great accomplishment, which I love to hear. Speaking of which, as we kind of close out here, I do want to know, because I've also forgotten to ask directly as well, but where do we see you next? Are we seeing you in Canada? Are we seeing you in Atlanta? Are there any like characters from the new set that you're excited about and want to build? Or what's next directly, you know? Yeah.
Well, I'll be in Canada in 2 weeks. I have no idea what I'm playing. I would like to not play Zeke. You know, I'm kind of like, we'll see. But I plan on being at every regional this year just because I really enjoy the game and love the community and want to be there. But in terms of this set, feeling at a bit of a dead end. I'm hoping that like some shakeups with the ban list maybe make some of the TMNT stuff a little more appealing to like deck build. You know, it doesn't feel like you get pancaked quite as hard, but like I've enjoyed a bit of Donatello. I've liked a couple other characters, Splinter and stuff, but I just ultimately I will sit down across from a deck from the last regional and lose a couple matches and just not be happy with what I tried to make. So right now I haven't found anything that sticks. You know, we're a couple weeks out. It's not impossible that I play a TMNT character, so we'll see.
Gotcha. I will say Donatello is on my must build list. Of course, unfortunately, my must build list usually goes unbuilt, but it is what it is. But I'm definitely excited about some of the cards, and I'm glad, you know, we're gonna get to see, you know, another WUB win at Canada. Obviously, that's what's gonna happen for sure.
Doesn't feel like it right
now. But yeah, as we're at the end here, do you have any shout outs that you want to make specific before we wrap up here?
I mean, you know, my team, you guys are great, and like friends and people who got me into the game and just kind of stuck with me. And like I said, you know, helped talk me back from those ledges when I'm like, what if I go back to Zero 2? You know, like just kind of being like, yeah, maybe not. A little bit of harsh love from them is much appreciated. So
gotcha. Love it. Well, that is going to be the end of our video. I hope you guys enjoyed this look into WUB's, you know, Universus career so far, into the event at in Louisville. And again, I just cannot say what a big congratulations to WUB. You know, we had last year, Travis got his first big win. This year we have WUB getting his first big win, and I am very happy to say that among all of our MGLA members that I think we're just going to keep on winning, and I can't wait to see how the rest of us perform for the rest of the year. So with that, we will see you guys in the next one.
See you.